That's the beginning of the show. Oh, we're not doing the Patreon post yet. That's the beginning of the show. Scooting over here a little bit because that's the beginning of the show. I'm supposed to be over here on a Friday. Oh, what's up? We don't have a band around here, so I do the band thing at the very beginning of the show. What's up, everybody? It's Friday. How you doing? It's Friday deep in the middle of a pandemic. Oh, what's up, everybody? It's a Friday in the middle of the pandemic, and it is a cooling trend here in Western Washington for one more day. Then we'll be back to the 90-degree madness, where people start losing their cool. As you can see, we've got the blue cool luminescence. I'm guessing on Monday we'll probably have a red light in the background, and people will ask me whether or not I'm gonna sing Roxanne. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Who knows? No one really knows what I'm gonna sing on Monday. And when I say no one, that includes me, you guys. You know what I'm saying? It includes me. Now, it happens to be Friday, the 24th of July in the year 2020. And it happens to be the day after. The Seattle hockey team has been announced. Their name has been announced. You know, their name was announced. The name was weird. Uh-oh, somebody got their message deleted. Oh, John McKenzie was asking what did I do with the money for the singing lessons. Moderators moderated that comment. Hey, I know I'm a terrible singer. You know I'm a terrible singer, but we all know. Here in the year 2020, we have no live singers. They all are not allowed to sing in a concert, so I sing at the beginning of the show. Anyhow, criticizing my singing isn't deletable. That's all I'm saying. It just got moderated, so no worries. Anyhow, John also said go Bruins, which I think is ridiculous. Go Pens. I am a relative hockey fan. I like hockey a lot. I don't follow it too closely, mainly because we have never had a Seattle team, except for somebody posted the dates. I don't remember the dates when the Seattle team left, but Bentley posted 1924 they moved. I'm not sure if they moved or disbanded or left or anything like that. Who knows? Somebody knows. Google knows, but I'm not going to look it up because regardless, it's long before I was born and it's sort of irrelevant. But their name was the Metropolitans, and I voted. I even went onto the thing, and I wanted to vote for the Metropolitans to be the name of the team. I wanted the team to be named the same name we had before, but they have decided to name it the Kraken, which has just lent itself in maybe 30 to 60 seconds, has lent itself to be made so much fun of it because it is a weird name for a hockey team. It's a weird name for anything, really. unless you're unless you're in those Johnny Depp pirate movies, whatever those are called. It seems really weird to me to have utilized that name. I wanted them to be called the Metropolitans. I was all for it. And now they've named it the Kraken. So I have decided to purchase some of the mockery gear instead of the actual gear. So I bought two not official jerseys, you know what I'm saying? I'm not spending $100 a piece on a jersey. That's bonkers. I bought some Teespring style merch that is making fun of the Kraken thing, and I will reveal that to you when it arrives. So I supported a local artist, got some merch, so we will have our hockey shirts. We'll be able to wear those and make fun of the fact that it's called the Kraken. Why are we going to do that? Because life is entertaining and life is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be all about pandemics constantly and nonsense. So I figure, why not a little just excitement about the hockey and just, I understand there's a lot of people out there that don't like sports. They don't get sports. It's not something that they're into. I understand. I look at it the same way as us being deeply into shrimp, plants, boxes full of water with critters living in them. A lot of people don't get our passion for that. I look at it in the same way, the same vein, that people are like, I don't like sports. And I'm like, okay. It's the same thing when people are like, I don't like fish tanks. And I'm like, okay. 9 times out of 10, though, I will say, when those people come over and watch like a football game or something, they're like, that was fun. Or if they come over and they're like, I don't like fish tanks, and they go look at my fish tanks and they're like, whoa, that's really interesting. I could see how you're into that. Right? So I think it's just a matter of creating a bridge between those things. I've often had people tell me that they like other sports. They don't like hockey sports. They don't like football sports. They don't like soccer sports. They don't like basketball sports. I'm like, okay, I get it. But I have wanted a hockey team here forever. I was forced to be a Pittsburgh Penguins fan when I was a kid because Mario Lemieux was a monster on the ice, and you guys know my affinity for the colors of yellow and black. So, what other hockey team was I going to pick? The Bruins? I would say in that Mario Lemieux time, it would have been ridiculous for me to choose the Boston Bruins. Just from that standpoint, being a young kid and playing, what is it, Sega Hockey? Was it Sega Hockey? I think Sega had the good hockey one. If I can remember correctly, I believe that is the game that is featured in the movie. What is that movie? Let's look this up real quick. Swingers. John Favreau. Favreau? Swingers. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so it is Swingers. 1996. And what game did they play? Hockey game. Oh, who knows how to type good on this? Not me. Hockey clip. God, what game is it? I want to watch the clip. I really do. Let's see. 16-bit. Nothing I can click on here would be streaming safe. I would get a copyright strike. NHL 94. Okay. It was NHL 94 for Sega Genesis, if you all remember that. Buddy, it was a hell of a game. I loved playing it, and I will tell you, the Pittsburgh Penguins would pretty much just womp everybody because of Lemieux. Lemieux. So it was yeah. So being a kid, that's what it's all about, and just having fun. Bentley Pascal says, I've always been a fan of keepers. A good goalie is what is looked for before Seattle had a team. Jonathan Quick for a long while was my favorite player. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, you got to say, out of the specialists, out of all sports, I would say the hockey goaltender, keeper, whatever you want to call them, is probably the most specialized. It's got to be the most specialized position in all of sports. You literally have equipment that makes no sense in any other sport. What you do makes no sense in any other sport. Maybe there's some kind of cricket parallel position. I don't know, but legitimately, it's probably, in my mind, it's probably the most specialized position in any, let's say, team sport. Because there may or may not be some kind of weird sport out there that I'm not thinking about that's an individual sport, but yeah, it's pretty wild. Ants France is here. What's up, Ants France? Says, what do you think of the European aquarium plant hobby? Honestly, the European aquarium plant hobby, from the stores to the people to the equipment to the companies to all that stuff, is a decade ahead of America. So wherever America thinks that they are right now, like a decade from now is where kind of Europe and definitely parts of Asia too. Don't discount what's going on in Asia. I'm just going to say Asia because it's a gigantic area, and I don't really want to. Let's just stick with continents, right? Definitely. Probably a decade. I mean, it might be 8 years or 6 years or something like that, but they're definitely ahead. But I will say that the U.S. is definitely catching up at a pretty rapid pace, I would say. Easily 5 years ago, I would have said we were 20 years behind, or something. I didn't have a great interpretation of what was going on in Europe and Asia at the time, other than seeing videos or magazine spreads or that kind of stuff, which wasn't really a great explanation of what was going on. So, having been there in person, knowing a bunch of the creators and stuff like that, like a good example would be like MD, what does he go by? Like MD Fish Tanks or whatever. That's a good example of like, he's just already like leaps and bounds past a lot of the people that have been in the hobby in the U.S. for a long time. It's just a different. It's a completely different approach in Europe, and I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of the geopolitical stuff that I talk about on a regular basis. The United States is and has been in turmoil for a really long time. It will continue to be in turmoil for a really long time. We'll probably talk about some of that stuff later on in the show, but basically put, through the 80s, the United States got rid of our manufacturing. We stripped away the middle class. We gave China the most favored nation status for year after year after year after year after year after year after year, utilizing what is best described as cheap labor to provide cheap products to here, which essentially stripped away a lot of the availability of time for people in the United States to do things like advance in a hobby, right? And that's just a reality. It's a reality that we're living in right now. And one of the things that I have definitely noticed of why the European aquarium hobby is much further ahead than the United States is those basic securities like shelter, food, healthcare, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Like going all throughout Germany and starting to realize like exactly how, people's paychecks break down, how people have to pay the bills for their living, for their shelter, for their healthcare, stuff like that. In the UK, I know that your healthcare system isn't perfect. There is no perfect system in the world, and that doesn't exist anywhere. So it's not to say that the UK has a perfect system or anything like that. But I will say, for somebody who is 28 years old, living in London, trying to make their way and move ahead and do things like take extra classes at school, try to do some extra side jobs, this and that, and kind of move forward, something that's taken care of is the ability for you to not die because you got like a broken leg or become broke to the point that you have a broken leg, right? Whereas in the United States, I can say specifically from my own experience at the ripe old age of, let me check. Let me check in my brain space. I think I was 26. I think I was 26. I might have been 27. I had a pneumothorax, which is a collapsed lung. I had a collapsed lung, ended up in the intensive care unit for 13 days, 12 days, something like that. I can't remember. It's like we basically just call it 2 weeks, right? The bill was $88,000. I had multiple infections, a bunch of other things that happened, but all that time in the hospital, $88,000. I happened to have insurance at the time, just in the off random chance, by random chance. And I still got a bill for like $5,800. So it was almost $6,000, even though I was covered, right? It was still a $6,000 bill. I couldn't work I was instructed by the doctor, by the hospital, by everybody in charge of my care. I was not allowed to be working for 90 days after I got out. I was forced to go back to work at 50 days. So I hadn't even fully recovered. I am just shy of 6 feet tall when I'm in tip-top shape. I'm about 180 pounds. Right now I've got a little pandemic weight from eating ice cream. I'm about 196 right now. Anyhow, at the time I was in sort of long distance running, rock climbing shape. And I was about 165 pounds when I got out of the hospital. I was, let me try to remember, 165, and then I was down to approximately 115, 120 pounds. So after 50 days, I had to go back to work because I had to pay rent, bills, all that kind of stuff. I didn't qualify for any kind of assistance in the United States to pay for my rent or any of that kind of stuff. That didn't happen because they said I wouldn't have been out of work long enough. You have to be out of work for 6 months in the United States to get aid from the state to cover that kind of stuff. So instead of rehabbing for that extra month, I just went back to work and just sucked it up, and it was terrible. It was not good. But yeah, I mean, that's just an example from my own life of something that happened, and I still had to pay that close to $6,000, you know. It's one of those things. GH Aquatics says, I miss rock climbing. I don't think I will rock climb again unless it's in a gym. Well, I would say you might be right about that if you still lived in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but you live on the mainland now. There's rock climbing here. So the United States is pretty big. Rock climbing is pretty accessible now. A lot of routes are top rope accessible and fairly easy to do. So I wouldn't count yourself out. You can handle it. Janice Lundberg says, my husband calls it his COVID reserve. Yeah, That's a good way to put it. I definitely got my COVID reserves going on right now. Yeah. Okay, so today is Friday. I normally do the Patreon posts. We'll do that because that's what I feel like doing. And I think it's been 20 minutes of me yammering on about BS and nonsense. Hopefully you all got your notifications. Hopefully you all hit the like button and the subscribe button, all that stupid YouTube stuff that we're supposed to do. I've been consistently getting the question of I don't get to see the live streams anymore. Because you guys will notice these do go unlisted about a couple hours after they're uploaded. And the main reason for that, people that are subscribed to the channel and have their notifications turned on will get a notification. You'll be able to watch the live stream later if you like. If you want to watch the replay, it will still be there for you. But if you don't have a notification or a link to go through into this video replay, you won't be able to find it any other way. And the reason for that is all of the new people coming to the channel because they're like, man, I want to learn about some fish tank stuff or whatever. And they've only watched a couple of my produced videos, or they've never watched any of my videos, and this is the first video they click on. You got to think, this first 20 minutes, I've been saying hi to people. I've been talking to you guys. We've been talking about things that are contextual right now. They would be like, this is dumb. I don't want to listen to this, right? So I do focus the live stream on you guys, the people that are here, the people that are subscribers, the people that are help support the channel and do that kind of stuff. That is why that is happening, and I think people are a little confused by it. So I've been putting this little disclaimer out there. Eventually it will work its way into enough people's brains that they'll be like, oh, that's what's going on. Okay. And it will make sense, because then people will be like, what's going on? I don't know. But we got to open up our Patreon page here real quick and update our patrons, which there's absolutely nothing to do. We have 237 patrons. It went up, it went down, it went up, it went down. Let me give a shout out to any of the new patrons. Where's that button? Patrons. Go to that. Oh. What's going on here? What? Won't let me do that. Oh, probably because I was clicking the wrong button. That must be why. So the newest to the fold is Mohammed. What is up, Mohammed? And Zach. Mohammed and Zach are our new patrons at $1 a month. Thanks, guys. Actually, Mohammed's the only one this month. Zach was last month. So that kind of goes to show you what's going on with the old patron over there. Patreon page, you know. Anyhow, that number stays the same. Let's check on the YouTube members, because we do have a goal. We were trying to hit that 100 patron or YouTube member goal, and we did, and then it went away. And let's see. Do reload the page and make sure our number is accurate. Oh, it's gone down and down and down. People have been getting mad at me lately. They're like, we don't like your progressive politics, man. That's not how the world works. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. We've gone down to 92, which kind of sucks. We're going backwards, guys. We don't want to go backwards, but that's what we're doing. It's the year 2020. It's a pandemic. What are we going to do? I don't know. Try to not go backwards, but then again, I guess it all boils down to what people want to do. And if they want to go backwards, then we end up going backwards, because that's just kind of how that weird thing works out. Somebody was asking, they actually highlighted my name, so it's kind of easy to find those comments. Sam Malone was asking, did I break down my reef tanks? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I broke down my reef tanks. Don't have no reef tanks no more. The main reasoning behind that was it's a pandemic. Cost was becoming an issue. I mean, maintenance cost isn't that big of a deal, but it was extra cost. So it was like, okay, pragmatically, let's think about this. A little bit extra cost. extra process. You know, I'm lost out on a ton of side jobs this year that I was hoping to fund. I was hoping to fund a bunch of projects. You know, the pandemic hit, all of those side jobs went away. Does everybody just said, we're not going to do that. They're going to save their money and not spend their money on things and just wait till next year. They're just waiting it out. So I lost a bunch of side jobs. So I had to think about budget. Like, what am I doing with this budget? What's happening? Where's money going? Where's money going out? Where's money coming in? Let me figure this out. We lost a whole bunch of patrons and people that were sponsoring the channel. So the budget went down also on that end. And it was kind of like, all right, I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. So part of the streamlining of what I'm doing was I'm just going to get rid of the reef tank. I don't have the time to take care of it. So it was time and it was financial, and I wasn't making any content with it also. So it was sort of like the trifecta of moving it out, you know. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to lose all the information I know about reef tanks, but generally speaking, it will mean it's not, that information isn't as fresh in my mind because I'm certainly not utilizing it. But yeah, I just had to pick a thing and move on. You know, I think everybody finds themselves doing. I think people at times find themselves doing too many things and kind of just need to get some of the peripheral crap out and go that route. So, as much as I would love. As much as I would love to have a bunch of reef tanks or something like that, there'd have to be a real reason for me to do it. And that's the unfortunate side, was kind of like just my enjoyment was not a big enough reason to continue to spend resources on it. That's just really what it was boiling down to. Alanasuki, yeah, it's just weird. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, same here. Alyssa Bentley, next week I have something happening almost every day, work, meetings, or babysitting. Yeah, I it's the weird thing is that, like, you would assume that, like, being on quarantine in a pandemic would be like, oh, you just hang out at home and just hang around at home. And it turns out that it is more busy than just doing the regular work. That's the weird thing. That's the weird thing I would have not expected. If somebody had asked me ahead of time, you know, what do you think it would be like? And I get it. There are some people out there that just have nothing to do. They're bored out of their minds and they've just been watching Netflix. I watch some stuff, that's for sure. Not to act like holier than anybody else out there. Like, I certainly watch some shows, I watch some movies, I watch that kind of stuff. But there's no way I could just sit around all day after day after day and run out of things to watch on Netflix. It just would never happen. But, you know. JH Aquatics has moved to Vermont. That is right. He is up there in one of the progressive states now. He's living up there being progressive, Bernie style, you know. It's good stuff. Just Bob says, trend here in Holland is slowing economy, but good work for nurses like me and people in construction jobs because people are renovating homes because they have to spend more time in it. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's good to hear that things are progressing in other countries where, you know, mitigation tactics have worked. They're able to kind of recover and keep kind of moving forward. I wish there was more of that in the U.S. at this point, but it just seems that like there's enough of the population to continue spreading everything around. That I don't know if that's going to happen. Streetwise says I should have saved that swingers quote for this part of the conversation. Which one? It's such a quotable movie, I got to admit. There's so many good quotes out of that movie. Let's scroll up here and see if we can't find it. Oh, you're so money and you don't even know it. You're like this big, you're like this big bear with these big claws and these big teeth. Anyhow, I've always been a fan. All right, I think I'm pseudo caught up, so let's go grab Sci-Fi Swordman. Oh, here we go. Sci-Fi Swordman said, pretty much, despite picking up dirty laundry from a hospital that COVID-positive patients sent shortly after things got started in the U.S., 6 days a week. All right. That is good to hear that at least you're working steady. Things are going. I've had this continued lung situation that they just don't want me going out and getting exposed. Luckily, I've been able to work for the co-op from home. As you guys know, those plant racks, I think a while ago I showed you guys a video of making those plant racks and everything, all the labor that goes into those. I've just been doing that from here. So that's one of those things, and planning and organizing and doing drawings, blueprints. There we go. Blueprints and filming some video, growing some plants for the co-op. I've been doing some just regular old work stuff. It's not even really that exciting. Otherwise, I guess I would make a video out of it. But the current video that I'm making will be later. It will be later. You know, it will be just a later thing. KG Cichlid says, man, your camera quality is on point. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's 3 thank yous. That's how you know it's real. It's how you know it's going to be real. I mastered the stay-at-home all-day, everyday thing before the coronavirus. That's right. Big D Smoke is basically indentured to his home. He's basically just home all the time. You know, being... I don't want to like spread too much about his situation, but he's had a bunch of back surgeries and stuff, and is unable to be going out. You know. Dave says I flipped to 4K for a second and it looks amazing, but my internet can't hang. Yeah, I mean, I broadcast in the maximum that YouTube allows me to broadcast. So today I'm only in 30 frames. I normally do 60 frames a second. 4K, even though YouTube won't let you do that. I'm like, here's the signal, take what you want. So it kind of just works out to like however YouTube's compression is kind of working, but I do broadcast in that. I use the Canon, and I have to pay for streaming software and all that kind of stuff, so it's all pretty basic, nothing too crazy. I currently use a Canon RP is the streaming camera that I use, and basically kind of the reasoning behind that is it's the same camera I use to film all of my like sitting down talking into the mic video stuff. So, you know. the 4K 30 is so forking beautiful compared to the 480p I can maintain. Yeah, I just kind of do the best that I can, you know, with it. KG says you can see every pore, which is good. That's the point, right? Then of course you have to change a bunch of settings in the streaming software to change things around and stuff. Jerry Cook has an ick outbreak and is 75 and wondering how many days of using salt will my plants tolerate. You know, in my experience, there's pretty rarely that many established plants that will be that affected by salt. Salt and temperature will mess with the plants, but if they're established plants, I'm not that concerned about the amount of salt we put in there to kill ick. The temperature is probably a bigger problem, and the lack of CO2 and O2 are going to be your bigger problems realistically. So I would just watch out for them getting burned or melting off. And if that's the case, it's not a whole lot that you could do at that point, but I think the last time I did a salt ick treatment was, I think I went like a full 2 weeks, I think. I wouldn't 100% quote me on that, but the last time I had ick was in the 240, and I jacked that thing up to like 95 degrees and did salt for, I'm going to say, I thought it was 2 weeks before I did a big water change, but maybe it was a little bit less. Maybe it was like 11 days. Maybe it was 8 days. Who knows, you know. Dan Squire says, hi, I did say earlier, but not with an at. Hope you're doing swell. It's good to see Dan. Dan Squires is a longtime supporter. Awesome dude in the channel. I would love to hear from Dan more often. But we all get busy. We all in a pandemic. We all having stress. So I get it. But yeah, I'm doing okay. You know, I've had this ongoing, I think what realistically it boils down to is sort of an inflammatory response in my upper respiratory is basically the easiest way to explain it. I had pneumonia earlier this year. I don't know how I got pneumonia, but I got pneumonia from something. My guess would be maybe Olivia going to daycare, maybe just being stressed, being tired. Who knows? So we went through, just a regular pneumonia treatment. I went through antibiotics and then something else. It's been confusing. They've had me on a bunch of weird drugs this year, so bear with me. But the basic thing that we're at right now is knocking back this inflammation that keeps happening with like prednisone and steroid treatment, all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of flared back up in the last day. Like yesterday, I woke up, it was a little bit weird. So I'm not 100% sure that everything's great, but it has been good up until just like a day ago. So I don't know if I'm just having whatever, but Dan was saying, do I have a swab dude? No, I currently don't have a swab dude to get my swabs, but we've all been tested for coronavirus in this house on a couple different occasions. So none of us have the coronavirus. That's not what it is, but that's one of the reasons they don't want me going out a lot, is because the chance that I get exposed to coronavirus, they're not really sure what would be the outcome. If I already have an upper respiratory situation and catch a virus that is a upper respiratory virus, that could be a really bad thing. So that's why they're like, well, stay home seriously as much as possible. So it's like, okay. Yeah. Dan Squires is breeding like, oh no, Alyssa says. They're breeding like crazy. They're growing, eating, pooping, getting more species now too. It's always good. What was this question? Mirdul Singh says, with school having been out for a few months, my planet aquariums have been looking much better than ever before, all without making new purchases, just with maintenance and paying attention. I mean, that is a statement about your own situation, but it's great advice for anybody out there that's struggling. I mean, just keep working on your aquarium and doing regular maintenance and stuff, and you will see the benefit from that. Just allergic to Olivia or maybe formula and diapers. No, she started going to daycare. In the U.S., we have no state-sanctioned daycare. It's all private daycare. And, basically, the people that don't make a lot of money, you can get a voucher that helps pay for them to go to daycare. But Vicky and I make too much money to qualify for that. First off. Second of all, because there's only some private daycares, the free market, I guess, people have consistently told me over the years that the free market will figure it out. You know, the free market will handle all that, which is just one of the most disingenuous talking points that I've ever heard from people, is that like free market capitalism will figure it out for the best. Now, anyhow, because most of the daycares in the United States are privately run, there's no spots in them because they are run as a for-profit driven business. And when a for-profit driven business has, say, 8 teachers or daycare providers or whatever that can watch 6 kids, then they want it to be maximum occupancy so that they can make maximum profit, which means there's not enough daycares around. And so if you don't sign up like 10 months ahead of time or a year ahead of time, there won't be a spot for you when it comes around, because there are more babies than there are spots in the daycare that are available. So we eventually found a daycare that had the shortest waiting list, which meant that we had to go an extra 6 months of having babysitters come to the house, and, you know, trying to figure out their schedules and whether or not they could work or not work or this or that. You know, it was just this wild, crazy situation. We finally got her into daycare. But the thing with kids going into daycare is that they bring home every sickness that is all of the kids in that school, basically, which is why it is a huge political talking point right now that the kids should go back to school. But all of the, you know, you just need one person basically to have the coronavirus at a school, and they're going to spread around this contagious disease that we don't have any kind of real cure for at this point. We have some therapeutics and things like that seem to be working better than before. We're more prepared now than we were, but it's going to spread that around, and it's going to come into everybody's house because the kid is going to come home. You know, I forget how many kids are school age in the U.S. It's something like 50 million or something. So the other 280 million people in the U.S. would just get exposed by all the kids. You know. Yeah. So that's just, and it's not like some kind of secret that will happen. It's just how it is. The kids are all in close contact with each other. They put their hands in their mouths. They put their hands on everything. They put their hands on the floor. They put their hands in their mouth. They get pink eye. Like, they get pink eye. Like, adults don't get pink eye. You don't touch your butt and then touch your eye. You don't get poop on your hand and not wash it off. You know? Like, we get pink eye because our kids come home and then put their hands in our eyes or touch whatever it is that we're doing, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing. It's a weird situation, but you know, I don't know. I don't understand how it became a political talking point, but I guess the reality is that like there isn't that much of a safety net in the United States built in. You know, we've got $1 trillion a year for bombs and missiles, and an extra $1 trillion a year for support of the bombs and missiles people and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we're like, we have to send them back to school because I got to go to my job. Like, I don't know. People get mad at me because I talk about politics. And okay, whatever. I mean, that's the reality. It's just like, okay, you're mad. Well, I don't know, go fix something. I feel like it's the year 2020, and we should have like been smart enough to think about some of this stuff ahead of time, because this is not the first time. You know, we're talking about stuff that happened 100 years ago, and we haven't gotten prepared for this. You know. Kids are basically vermin and bacteria carriers. My brother used to bring rats into the house. Yeah, bring the plague in. Bring these plague-infested rats into the house. That's awesome. Dave says, yep, have 2 kids in grade school and aftercare. Everyone was sick for about 3 years until we built immunity to the Petri dish. Well, the reality is, like, it's not a matter of that you, like, really built immunity to, well, I mean, in a way, yes, but you're also learning to not expose yourself as much. And the way that I could relate to that is that, like, if you're a nurse working at a hospital, like, you just learn to not do what I'm doing right now. Like, you learn to not be like rubbing your face and your nose and stuff when you're talking to people, right? Or just around, because you're like, I need to go wash my hands before I leave this room and go into the next room, right? So I think it's a combination of a bunch of stuff. Like, not only as a parent do you get vaccinated, like you as a parent, you should be getting your flu shot, that kind of stuff. You probably are paying a little more attention to your diet, things like that. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that kind of goes into it. Like, I wouldn't say it's just one insulary thing. Like, I wouldn't be able to just say, like, let's target this one thing that you just will become immune to stuff because you've been exposed to so many things. I think it's a cumulative effort on a whole bunch of fronts that that just allows people to get past that kind of things, you know. Big D Smoke lives a block from a middle school and a block and a half from an elementary. I literally live smack in between the 2 kids that are always walking past my house all day during school. Well, here's the weird thing, Dan, is that, like, you can't stop touching your face no matter how hard you try. Here's the thing, like, if I just start remembering, like, all of the procedures and stuff of, like, being a chef, like, you're handling raw chicken, you don't touch your face, right? And admittedly, there are a bunch of stupid people out there that handle raw chicken and touch their face and then wonder why they have diarrhea the next day. That does exist, but generally speaking, like, when you're learning to behave and, like, sanitize surfaces and not mix things together and that kind of stuff, it eventually becomes, like, second nature. Like, this is what you do. And I think that's, you know, none of us are perfect, but I think that's just, like, an accumulation of all of these things starts to come together that people are able to continue to exist and do well. 60 people watching, 29 likes. God, it seems like such a long time ago that we had 12 likes, but now we're up to 29, which is good. Let's get to our damn Patreon posts before I lose my damn mind. All right, let's talk about some fish stuff here for a little bit. Alyssa Bentley sent in our first post from July 17th at 1:14 p.m., which I believe was during last Friday's show. So it has been a whole entire week, and I haven't gotten back to her yet. My bad, but that's how this cookie crumbles, man. You can't just be posting during the show and have it be on the same show, right? You could have farted in there or something, and we would have been like, oh my God, it's so absurd that you farted. I'm upset now. I don't know. I guess farts is just funny to me, you know. I got my thing all set up weird here. Where is I'm going to move this down here because it's like... Here. There it is. I have this all set up weird. I don't know what happened. I think I moved around some files and it moved everything in a weird way. Do I need that down here? Though I'm just I'm wondering if we need that down there. I'm just gonna turn it off because I feel like that feels better. That feels better. It's less intrusive, right? I wonder if I could scale this up a little bit bigger. Gosh, I can't. I don't think I... You know what? I'm not liking this. Let's go ahead and I'm going to redo the screen capture. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I've done this all ahead of time, but I'm just not liking the way that it looks now. So we might as well fix it now because what else are we going to do today, you know? Like, what else are we going to do today? Like, talk about fish like I said I was going to? Yeah, of course. Let's see. So what if I scale it like this? I'm going to go like that. And then I think I can make it bigger so it fills up more space in case you guys want to read it. Ah, God, look at that. That is better. That is better. That is better. That's so much better. I like that better. I hope you all like that better. It's tremendous, as they would say. As they would say. Look at it. It's just tremendous now. It's amazing. It's amazing how much better that looks from before. Gosh. Man. Good times. Anyhow, Alyssa sent this in. The beta chinoides, which I know I say that wrong. I got to figure out how to pronounce that correctly someday. But today might not be the day. Currently holding eggs. Last time he lasted 3 days before swallowing. I'm thinking he swallowed out of jealousy that I had fed the female. Any experience with these guys? I'm thinking I could scoop the lady out to feed her until he drops the eggs. It has been quite a long while. I have to think back to the days of, let me think here, 3, 5, 7, 10, probably 11 years ago, I'm guessing. About 11 years ago is what I would guess. If I were to guess, that's what I would guess. Was the last time that we did some breeding with the chinoides. At the time, they were super rare and not really in the way that anybody would imagine. They were just rare as far as the price goes, and I think that was kind of our two motivating factors. Motivating factor 1, trash talk people on the forums that were unable to breed them, and 2, resell them at a reasonable price that would help pay for the hobby. Reason number 1 worked out swimmingly. Just talking trash to all sorts of unknown people. We didn't know anybody. We're just talking trash on the internet in the middle of the night about breeding betta fish. So who knows? It's just it's a weird niche thing to do, but it was more niche back then than it is now. You got to think. That's like the days before Facebook, you know, really when you think about it. Facebook may have existed, but you probably had to be a college student at the time, right? But regardless of any of that, we failed on the number 2 part because they were extremely difficult to sell back then, which sort of ties into the trash talking on forums and, you know, not having tools like Facebook that worked appropriately. You know, I think MySpace still existed back then, right? Anyhow, moving on. Yes, we had experience as long as you're got a lot of plant matter and stuff in the tank, keep the tannins up, all that kind of standard stuff to get them to breed, and then hold the eggs in his mouth. We did take all of the other fish out that were in the tank that we could get. You know, I think there might have been some little rasboras or something like that in there, and failed and failed and failed and then succeeded. It's almost more It's almost more as far as my advice can go would be almost every fish is going to fail at the first couple of times they breed. They're just, I guess we'll put it this way, they're just not penguins. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? They're not penguins, you know? And they have a tendency to fail right out the first couple of times, but I wouldn't be worried by that because that's pretty normal to me, that the betas would fail, especially mouth breeding. You know, if you're talking about cave fish that lay eggs and then kind of protect them, kind of sucks if they fail the first time, and that's more rare. But almost every mouth brooder, yeah, Zapruder? I don't know. Almost every mouth breeding fish is going to fail the first couple times around, so I wouldn't be super stressed out about it. I would just keep it up, but make sure to give them a good break in between. I think the overall guidance from some of the people that would be way more professional breeder than me, a lot of it has to do with feeding, and I think that they end up eating the eggs just out of like that sort of crocodile bite command, you know, the alligator crocodile bite command when they have their mouth open and you just touch their tongue, they'll just bite your hand off, right? I think it's that same kind of situation. I think it's that same kind of situation realistically when you get down to it. John is wondering what size tank would you need for penguins? Well, we were at the penguin exhibit just last week, I think. Maybe the week before. I have no idea. Recently, at the penguin exhibit. Looked like their tank was probably 5,000 to 6,000 gallons, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe 12,000 gallons. Not a huge space, honestly. Probably 60 feet by 40, 50 feet, something like that. So it's doable. I mean, if you're bold, you know what I mean? Like if you're a bold person that has a lot of ambition and power in your lower quadrant. So, you know, you haven't skipped leg day. You've been doing the things that you need to do. You've been doing you've been doing a lot of leg presses and stuff like that. You'll be able to build, I think, a decent penguin. What do you call that? An estuary? That might be an estuary. Some kind of penguin display thing. It's something that you could do, I think. I mean, if you're powerful. You know. Marlon Allen Supertran is wondering if penguins always get it right the first time. They don't always get it right, but they are extremely caring parents. But they only have one egg, so we got to keep that in mind, you know. Our next post comes from another loving parent, the Fish Tank Barn, otherwise known as M. Howie. Mikey. Dad Van Mike. The Fish Fam, Dad Van Man. The Fish Tank Barn, if you haven't checked it out, that's who this is. And we have some loving parents here. We have some other loving bird parents of the bird variety, which penguins are too, you know, the flightless birds. Anyhow, the post is, my ladder on the other side of the fish barn has been invaded. A robin has decided to make its nest on the top of my ladder. I guess it is out of commission until the fall, which, how lovely is that? You know, look at these birds just making use of, they're just crafty. They're just making use of their environment. Look at that, you know? But that does suck that you're not able to use your ladder until the damn birds get off of there. Which I will tell you guys, we had this tiny land bird. So you know those little crap. What's the name of them? The state bird is the goldfinch. This is not the goldfinch. This is the brown-crested goldfinch, I think. I don't know. Goldfinch. Most people call them the little cheap birds. They go cheap, and they like bounce around on the ground and then hop up into a bush. They just eat seeds and stuff. Anyhow, we had one of those right out here in the garden, and it was creating all sorts of chaos within our garden here. And really hoping that the baby survived. It seemed like the baby must have survived or was eaten. It's one or the other. Because there was a lot of chaos with the parents of the baby bird, and the chaos seems to have died down now. So hopefully the baby bird got his baby bird powers of flight and flew away, and they're doing good out there. I don't know. I can't really give you a positive update one way or the other. Vicky saw the baby bird 100 million times. I saw the baby bird exactly 0 times. I just kept seeing the parents coming at me, doing all weird bird stuff. I looked around. I looked, and I never got to see the baby bird. Vicky was very, very friendly with the baby bird, and they were on speaking terms, and they were homies, and I never got to be a part of that all that much. Excuse me. Sometimes you got to have a little pause there when you're talking about birds and have a little sip of coffee because it's legitimate. Our next post has more to do with fish than previously, but Dave's Aquarium sends this in. He's got 2 of the 3 bristlenose cats in the 180-gallon community tank, bought as fingerlings in December. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, 8-ish months. That's about a right timeline. The male is solidly 4 inches now. They eat like pigs, and that is pretty accurate. Bristlenose plecos pretty much just spend all of their time eating or guarding eggs. And I think that's the nice, friendly way to put it. That's pretty much the extent of their behavior. I mean, they do bristlenose sword fight every once in a while, but that's just more of a territorial scuffle than anything else. So that is pretty much the majority of what they do. It looks like yours are doing well, and I would say, 7-8 months in, I'd be expecting some eggy waggies pretty soon, and hopefully some breeding behavior, because this looks like a female, and this looks like a male, so should have a pair, hopefully. But it says it looks like I need a bigger cave or 2. I would do that if you want them to breed. If not, then I wouldn't worry about it. I haven't noticed any ill effects to the bristlenose not breeding, as long as they're in like a healthy tank and they can just hang out and hide places. If they don't have any caves, I just noticed that they don't really breed, and I'm wondering if that's probably like, well, we don't have anywhere to lay these eggs, so I guess I'll just reabsorb them and not, or just maybe cut them loose and little fishes eat them or something. I don't know. Be my guess. But I haven't seen any ill effects from the years of having bristlenose and having them in some tanks where they couldn't breed. Even with that like specific pair, I took them out and put them into another tank that did have a cave, and they just started laying eggs like a week later, and the male was in there, and little ones showed up later on, and yeah. So it's kind of weird. Yes. I feel like I'm trailing off now, so let's move on to the next post. I don't know. I was talking about something, and then my foot was itching, and I itched my foot and kind of forgot what I was doing. Anyhow, this comes from the Zombie Drummer, which, what's up, my guy? It's good to see you. Aquaponics plants are starting to fill in nicely, and I'm excited to have some Monstera growing out of my tanks, which I can't think of what Monstera is. Let me think. Let's look that up real quick. Monstera? Monstera. Oh, yeah. Okay. Species of evergreen, tropical, vines, shrubs. I should know that off the top of my head, but I forget what the local name, what that's normally called at the store. But I should know that one, and that's my bad for not knowing it off the top of my head, which I should. I'll admit fault. Yes. Monstera is this one right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. I might have to get a bigger arrow. Let me get my arrow. Boink. And it's behind the camera. There we go. So move it up to here. Monstera is this one right here. Yeah, big arrow. You guys, the arrow is back. The arrow has made a return. Let's rotate it around. Let's rotate the arrow. Don't make it weird. Oh. Bzzz. Oh, look at that. Let's flip it around, go in that direction. Monstera is that one right there. So we figured it out. We've applied the arrow. Now everybody knows what's going on. Chevy Fish says philodendron, which is what it's normally. Philodendron. There it is. That's what it is. That's what it's normally labeled around these parts. But yeah, it's that one right there. And I can wiggle the arrow around. God, look at that. This technology around here is amazing, guys. You know, this is an overlay PNG file yellow arrow. And I can click on it with my mouse and make it wiggle around. But I can't make it rotate around. I can make it bigger or smaller, though. I can do that. Because just look at those features. Wow, the technology these days is amazing, isn't it, guys? Yeah, it's so amazing, right? Anyhow, back to the post. Growing out of one of my tanks. FX6 is pulling double duty as my solids filter and pump and seems to be working out well. These fish could provide enough nitrates for much bigger growing beds, but I'm short on space for more larger beds. Yeah, I can kind of see that. I don't think you'd realistically be able to expand on the top here with bigger beds, but moving on. Considering setting up a decoupled aquaponics system and utilizing water change water to grow some greens or veggies. Crazy glare in this room. Sorry for the crappy picture. Happy Friday. Yes. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to everyone who likes Friday. And everyone that doesn't like Friday too. Anyhow. Moving on, a decoupled aquaponics system I would like to see. I would like to see somebody doing that. You guys know I have pretty lofty goals on doing the aquaponics system. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, one of the reasons we got rid of the reef tank was cost for some of the projects that I want to do. And that would be one of the projects that I want to do is some bigger aquaponics systems for long-term overwinter growing and stuff like that. And to the furthest of my knowledge, they will be happening, barring any kind of crazy stuff happening that will continue happening. So it's always good to get an opportunity to see somebody else work on some aquaponics, hydroponics. And I don't know that I would necessarily be doing... Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. I mean, you could dump the water change water into the aquaponics, then that probably... Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I don't know why I was saying that wouldn't, but it does, yeah. And I would love to get a chance and opportunity to check that out. Alana Suki, Barbara herself. Barbara. Oh, my leg's falling asleep. There we go. Gotta move my leg. Barbara sends this in, otherwise known as Alana Suki. Says, my flamingo crypt is finally turning pink. Look at that. That Wendetti pink varietal is finally turning pink. Look at that. We got some new growth. Things are going good. I should control the arrow. Gosh, guys. Control the arrow, my man. Let's turn the arrow off. It's too confusing. It's driving me nuts. But let's reframe this a little bit so kind of you guys can see it. There we go. I've been thinking I might need to overhaul the tank, add more gravel, clean up some algae. Any tips to do this, but keep my crypt happy, or am I better off just letting it be? Okay, yeah, chances are the crypt is probably going to melt back or change if you do rescape or make a bunch of changes to the tank. That's just going to happen. Melting back a crypt is or shouldn't be something that stands in the way of what you want to do with this project. I think that's kind of the best way that I could put it, is like, don't let this plant being disturbed by the thing that you want to do. I mean, obviously you don't want to disturb the plant to the point where it dies. Like, that wouldn't be good. But I'm not confident in the assessment that that plant's just going to die if you move a bunch of stuff around. Will it melt and eventually convert to the parameters of the tank or whatever's going on with the tank? Yeah, likely. Likely will. It will likely melt back. That is very common with crypts. That's something that the plants are going to do. It's how they're going to adapt to the changes in the water. So if you have motivation to redo a bunch of stuff in the tank, I would say go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Make it happen. Make it work. And you deal with a little bit of repercussions, which you probably will. This plant will melt a little bit or whatever. But as you can see, it will recover. Just you might have to be a little more patient and just wait. It really is like one of those things that it kind of sucks, but it's also just part of nature, that the plants will melt back at those changes. So I just wouldn't fight it. I would continue to do the thing that you want to do as a human and go that route. We have to address the elephant in the room, you guys. We have to stop here for a second, and we have to address something very serious that has happened. We have to address it. It's important. It's something that we need to do, and that is Daniel Squires has sent a 5-pound super chisel. Super Chizat. Where you at, Chizat? A super chat in the variety of 5 pounds from Daniel Squires saying, loving the Friday. Thank you very much, my guy. 100% appreciate it. All of your guys' support just goes back into making episodes and produce content. And I've been slowly introducing some of the changes into the channel to not make it such a dramatic change. I am happy to report that it's I guess I'm happy to report that the changes are not necessarily beneficial in the grand scheme of things. We've like, I guess I don't know how to word this properly. But what we've done is we've sort of streamlined the people that I'm talking to. I have like 27,000 something subscribers. Be brutally honest with you guys, a bunch of those subscribers do not even remotely ever watch anything on this channel ever. The current count is what is it? 1,097 people regularly return to watch stuff on this channel. So 1,090 people watch stuff on this channel, and that's it out of the 27,000 whatever. So I'm trying to do my best to engage with those 1,097 people. And I hope I'm doing that in a less than jarring manner. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Ever forward. Dan Squires just posted the link if you want to go to Patreon and support, or you could become a member here on the channel and support. The YouTube members the YouTube members have dropped down, so maybe somebody wants to become a YouTube member. The benefits to that is you can join up on our Discord chat. I think people are enjoying that, or maybe they aren't. It's hard to say. It's hard to say if people are enjoying it or not, because I don't know. I generally just don't get any kind of interaction with the people that don't like it or not. I don't know. Oh, my nose started whistling. You hear that? That was weird. Yeah. Okay. Back to the show. But yeah, there are benefits, but it's nothing like you aren't missing any videos or anything like that. Nothing real production-wise is behind a paywall. Dave's Aquariums, wow, 4.04%, yet it seems infinitely better than my 0.8%. Well, it's the reality of the internet, man. Everything's free and nobody wants to, actually, it's not that everything's free and nobody wants to do anything. It's just that, like, everything's operated by algorithmic learning now. So the computers have no emotion towards people being a long-time member or follower of a channel or something like that. The robots don't care. They just want you to spend more seconds, minutes, hours a day on a platform. So it literally makes a choice between, they're like, oh, you like this racing cars versus aquarium videos. Like, you like that on average for 63 seconds more a day. So we're just going to stop showing you any of this fish tank stuff, and we're just going to show you car racing stuff, because we'll hopefully keep you here for 2 minutes more a day instead of 1 minute more a day. That's really just like what it all boils down to. So, people have to actively pursue things now, and if it's not something they're thinking about, it's not something that they're going to actively pursue. It's just reality. Steve Bertich. Did I say? I hope I said it right. Bertich. With a $5 super chat says, "Thank you, Jay, for sharing your thinks and knows." Yeah, it's just, I appreciate it. I do my job to share my thinks and my knowins and my knowins of stuff. All right, we're coming up on our last post of the day. Yeah, see, there's our 237 patrons right there. Alyssa Bentley sends this in, which is another Beta Chinoides update, which is the cheeky jerk swallowed the eggs. Yeah, I think it's kind of what I was saying before, is that I never really had any experience the first couple of times of them breeding successfully. They sort of just disappeared. And I think I was probably equally as depressed as you are probably right now, I would say. It's like, oh, man. And it is pretty sad, but I would say stick with it. You really stick with it, and it will work out. I am confident that it will work out. I think if an idiot like me could put it together, I bet Alyssa, who's much smarter than me, will do a great job making more of this fish, getting them to Barry White it up, and listen to some Barry White tracks, get it a little romantic in there, and get those baby fish a breeding. I'm confident. Yes. JDog67, it's a machine. It doesn't get happy. It doesn't get sad. It just runs programs. Yep, that's right. Dave's Aquariums, type the @ symbol to try starting their name. Should auto-complete. Oh, to message post. Is that what it was? How to respond to a post. Yeah, so if you're trying to respond to somebody in the chat, there's two ways to do it. You can go to the participants. Oh, you can't actually click on that on the computer. Okay, let's go back. We can go like this. So Dan is typing in the chat. So you go @ symbol, What's the at symbol? Is that ampersand or is ampersand the and? At symbol name. Can't remember. What is the name of this symbol? There we go. Unlike a ampersand, it does not have a specific name in English. It is called the at sign or at symbol. Oh. It's not the ampersand. It's not the parentheses. It actually doesn't have a name other than the at symbol. All right. Okay. I'll trust you, Internet. Unless the Internet's lying to me again, and then, oh boy, howdy. I would say there'd be hell to pay, but there's generally nothing to ever pay. But I will go capital D, A, N, and then there's a pop-up window. Actually, you know what I can do? Hold on. Let me close. Oh, that's the arrow. I'm going to close that, and then let's go add source. I wanted to actually try this late in the... Oh, I don't know if that'll work. I wanted to try this a little while ago to see if I could get the chat into the window via a different input, but I don't know. I'm not going to be able to do that. So let's go like this. There we go. We've got it highlighted and it's over my face. All right. There we go. So if we go like this, we go at D A. Ooh, I get Dan Velez, I get Dave's Aquariums, I get Dan Squires. I can click on Dan Squires and I can go, hey now. And that's how you do it. Simple as that. Little tutorial here in the middle of this live stream. And that was fun for everybody. Maybe not. Maybe it was no fun for anybody and nobody liked it. And we just have to live vicariously through somebody else that had an interesting stream. You know what I mean? So, all right. Let's get down to the goofy business. We that was the end of our Patreon posts of the day. And let's see what people in the chat got to say. I think I've been keeping up on it pretty good, but we'll see. Marlon has a question here. If the plants in your tank are thriving... Oh, no, he has an answer. Okay. If the plants in your tank are thriving, I don't think it will be different for the plants in your garden. Most of the chemicals are gone by the time you're doing water changes anyway. Let's see what Murdul was asking. Thanks, Alyssa. What about dechlorinators such as Prime and some meds? Ooh, I wonder what the original post was. I currently do that for one. My parents don't want me to use change water in my garden because they are concerned that the dechlorinator, fertilizer, and occasional meds in tank water could be harmful. Is that true? No, that is not true. That is an unfounded concern. Dechlorinator will generally is only active for between 8 and 12 minutes. So that's not an issue. Fertilizers are way weaker and generally the same fertilizer in a very general manner. A type of fertilizer that your plants will uptake and eat. And yes, the nitrate is going to replenish some of the nitrogen in your soil, which you would want to be doing that anyhow. The general ammonia waste and that kind of product will just help everything in your garden grow. It's sort of, I'm not even going to say it's sort of beneficial. It's extremely beneficial, but it's way less than you would add to the fertilizer, to the soil anyhow. But it is quite beneficial. And the medications in the tank water will not be a problem. So like even Icax medication in the tank, you could run some charcoal in there if you wanted to into the filter. Will remove that from the water. But I think, how long is ICX active? I think it's only like 48 hours or something like that. ICX active time. How long does ICX take to work? I think it's only like 48 hours, something like that. I think I need to downscale this screen. Can I? Can I downscale the screen size on this? Let's go. Whoop. Looks like 80% fits the screen, right? Oh, I just have to keep it centered. Okay, there we go. Yeah, here we go. So, malachite green is like I think malachite green is like 72 hours. Where's the ICX? ICX, how long are you active? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not finding it right now, so it does make for kind of a boring live stream while I try to search for the answer of the time. But most every medication is just not going to be active, and the plants in your garden aren't going to really uptake them anyhow. Now you might by chance have like a ton of medication in your tank and then use the water change water in your garden. It may or may not kill some bugs outside, maybe, but you're really just not going to be encountering any kind of problems. I've never encountered any kind of problems that I know of. The giant group of people that I know that are using their fish tank water in the garden have never had a problem. I've never encountered any kind of real issue that, like, if the fish and the shrimp and the snails and all that stuff are alive in your tank, the garden plants, outdoor plants especially, it's beneficial for your garden. It's not going to be a negative. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head if there's any kind of possible. I mean, like in the bizarre world, there might be a minor issue, but I've never really encountered anything that was significant or more than anecdotal. So I can't. Yeah. Dan Squire says, do you think putting a lump of malachite in my tank would be good or bad? Would be bad unless you have a reason for putting it in there. You would need a reason to put it in there. My pepper plants exploded with growth overnight when I started using aquarium water on them. Yeah, I mean, it's also just a good idea to water your garden, Fish poop in the garden is a great thing. Chicken poop in the garden, which you could be tempered in aquarium water. Yeah. John McKenzie says probably better than the acid rain. Well, I mean, rainwater is super acidic anyhow because of, or is it acidic or, hold on, I might be losing my mind here. Acidic rain, right? pH? There, right? Yeah, okay, good. I just was second guessing myself there for a second. Acid rain is rain or any other form of precipitation that is unusually acidic, meaning it has elevated levels of hydrogen ions, aka low pH. Can have harmful effects on plants, aquatic animals, and infrastructure. Yeah, and the thing is, like, a lot of the acidic, like rain is already acidic because of all the CO2 that it's falling through. as it falls through the air. And it's not helpful that CO2 levels continue to rise. Though I would also say, like, we're at a point where I think rainwater is, gosh, I think like rainwater is like pH is like 6 or something like that. But, it's not out of control or anything. I mean, it's bad. It's not good, but, it already is acidic, that rainwater, which we collect it here. I do. I don't know about you guys, but I collect the rainwater as much as I can. Obviously, I do allow it to stabilize, but the rain falling from the sky is going to fall on your garden, so I wouldn't be that stressed out about it, other than you have to. Dan Squire says, just for a slow release of antibacterial. No, I wouldn't add anything like malachite to your tank just because. You want to add things like malachite because it's a necessary thing that you need to do. So, yeah, I wouldn't be just hoping for antibacterial. Like, bacteria is good in aquarium systems. Generally speaking, we're propagating and promoting the growth of good bacteria in our aquariums. Can you use rainwater to breed cory? It depends on your collection method, realistically. You can definitely use rainwater. One of the biggest issues for rainwater into aquarium use is all of the pollutants that rainwater picks up when it lands during the collection process. So if you're collecting rainwater from, say, a roof, right, you got to think all of the asphalt and compounds and things that went into the roofing, depending on the type of roof that you have, or if you have like a cedar shake wood roof, it's going to have a ton of cedar oil and stuff like that in the water. So the collection of the water, the collection method, is what's likely going to be the most toxic aspect of. You got to think your roof sits out in the sun is just beating down on it, and then the rain comes. And the likelihood of there being petroleum products or, rubber compounds or, whether it's made of wood and there's wood coming off of it, maybe you have a tile roof. That might be a good option. But that's the kind of stuff that you're really going to need to test for, that takes a pretty comprehensive testing to find out what's going on. So most of the rainwater that we collect here, we just use for watering the garden. We use it for watering the lawn, which I'm not even a huge fan of having a lawn. I would rather plant it with food that we can eat. But I also understand why people like having a lawn. So we have some grass, and we water it to take care of it. We don't really water the front, but that's a different story. So yeah, you definitely use rainwater and stuff like that. Whether I be super stoked to use it in a fish setting, just really depends on a lot of variables, So I'll take that into consideration. Dan says, I found out my energy drink I like has a pH of 1.7, so I stopped drinking it. Well, artificially, drinks and things that you eat with a low pH will just adapt inside your body, but I don't recommend drinking energy drinks that generally have other stuff in them than just the pH level. That's really a concern. People's stomach, what's the pH of human stomach acid? Let's see. I forget what it is off the top of my head. I'm not a doctor. Of human stomach acid. Am I on images? No, we want all. The normal volume of the stomach fluid is 20 to 100 milliliters, and the pH is acidic from 1.5 to 3.5. So you're generally sitting in that 1.5 to 3.5 range. super acidic. You know? So it's like those weird pH diets don't make any sense to me, because the food will just go into your body and be broken down and converted and then digested. So it's like it's not doing anything to the overall pH in your body. It's just going to get whatever object you eat. It's going to go into your body and then be digested. So having a low pH diet isn't going to do anything to the pH of your body. I've seen that so much stuff. Rudy Guevara says coffee is acidic too. There's a hack to add baking soda, acidic level of approximately 6. Yep. J-Dog says, don't barf in the fish tank. Yeah, don't barf in there. No, it's not good. Definitely glad I never had energy drinks. My acid reflux is high. Yeah. Those pH diets and all that kind of stuff, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense to convince people that they're doing something. It's almost, the medical consensus is eat a varied diet, high in vegetables and fruit, cut back on sugar and junk food, any kind of junk food, any kind of processed food, eat whole food as much as possible. That's just, eat a varied diet. That's the best thing that you could do. And we all know that. And then it's like, well, I better eat a weird pH food and then that will save me from cancer. And it's like, well, no, what are you talking about? Drink some water, get your sleep, do all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I've talked to lots and lots of doctors about it, and they're like, all of them, it's nonsense. I've read so many peer-reviewed studies about all that stuff, and every time those things are actually peer-reviewed, it's like, no, this is nonsense, But you get some kind of wacky doctor out there that writes a paper about what they think, and then all of a sudden somebody adopts it like it's the gospel, and it's problematic. Like no one has even peer reviewed it at all. It's just, yeah, it's rough, man. We're out here living in a rough time, you guys, where people are, publishing papers as if it's a study, and it's not. Okay. What is going on over here? A notification about some nonsense. Okay. Word. Anyhow, back to the chat. I'd be worried about the sugar and energy drinks. My granddaughter and I worked out. There were over 50 teaspoons in a bottle she bought. Yep. I think people would be brutally surprised how much sugar and salt. Like, it's not even like salt. Like, you wouldn't be that surprised how much salt there is, but it's shocking how much sugar they pack into food these days. It is mind-boggling, like how much sugar they put into food, and the basic reasoning behind that. I hope people know, when you eat food that has a lot of sugar in it, it activates the portion of the brain that is the same portion of the brain activated by cocaine. So you're getting a lower level response from your brain that is the same as just doing a bunch of coke. So when, like for instance, I have spoken many times about drug addiction, alcoholism, that kind of stuff. My own experience with that, as you guys know, I am in recovery. I am somebody who is sober. I'm somebody who is consciously sober. I'm somebody who's working a program to stay sober because I am an alcoholic and addict. And so it's something that I probably don't spend as much time right now currently researching and working on, but it's something that I've definitely worked on quite a bit. It's definitely a lot of stuff I've read up on. And I've often heard people that are like, they can't stop eating junk food to some degree or whatever. And I can 100% relate to that. But you could definitely start making some incremental changes in that kind of stuff, especially if you are equipped with the knowledge that the things that you're eating could be activating your brain the same way that drugs are for people. Food is probably, in my opinion, probably got to be the most difficult addiction to deal with, because you can't just not eat food. I can not do meth and be fine. I can not drink 2 bottles of whiskey a day and be fine. But people can't just not eat and be fine. You have to eat. So I respect where people are coming from. Maybe the sugar thing of me talking about how that relates to your brain chemistry might help somebody go like, maybe I'll cut that back by 50% or something, and maybe that's helpful. So that's it's the only reason I bring it up. But yeah. If I'm not addicted to something, I'm addicted to something else. It's tough. Yeah, Rudy, the thing is, like, I'm the same way, but one of the things that I had to do when I got sober was to figure out where to put that energy. And if I'm addicted to writing, if I'm addicted to building things, if I'm addicted to helping people, if I'm addicted to reading books, if I'm addicted to like the stuff that is beneficial and good for my life, then that's just living a life. And that's not a negative play on living a life. Doing a bunch of meth and getting in car crashes is not beneficial for my life. But researching, writing, working on the things that I like to work on, that I think ultimately could be beneficial to my life, not only my life, but hopefully somebody else's life, is one of the things that I'm dedicated to doing. And if I continue to do those things, I just continue to be a positive influence on the world around me. That's just living a life. That's the reality of living a life and being a human, is, in my opinion, now I could wholeheartedly be wrong, but living my life and being a human is being a positive influence on the world around me, a positive influence on the lives around me, and just beneficial to the internet community, you guys being a part of a community that we don't necessarily have the ability to all live right next to each other. It's one of the main reasons that, like, I am constantly working on trying to get better at making videos. I'm constantly researching and taking notes on social issues that I'm involved in. I'm trying to do my best to be a contributor to the world. I certainly don't think I'm the best at it. I really don't. I really don't think that I'm the best at it. I'm continually trying to improve on a daily basis. And I hope that it's a benefit to people. And I know that, a while ago, somebody, it's like, you got to reach the biggest audience, and you got to make the most money, and you got to get the most subscribers, and you got to get the most this, and you got to get the most that, and blah, 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 blah. And the reality is, like, if I wanted to get all of the most stuff or whatever, it's a pretty simple equation. Realistically, you basically just be crazy, keep posting things that will make angry people interact with whatever it is that you're doing. Like that guy Shane Dawson would be a perfect example. Like, that guy has 20 million YouTube subscribers. He's totally lacking in character. He will do whatever to make money. He's just a liar, a grifter. There's a whole bunch of weird other criminal behavior, all sorts of crazy stuff going on, starting drama, doing this, doing that. And that guy's hyper successful, like on this specific platform, you know. So that's apparently the winning combination of how to be successful, like on this platform or whatever. But I feel like the 1,097 people I was talking about earlier, if I'm helping those people out in some fashion, whether it be entertaining or some education or some form of help, right? Then I'm being a beneficial and positive influence on 1,000 people that I would have never had contact with, right? And it's a big deal, you know? It's a big deal to me because I would have never had the opportunity to do any of this kind of stuff. Now, was all those statements pretty self-aggrandizing? Yeah. I am far from perfect. I am an asshole at times. I do stupid stuff. I'm mistaken constantly. I screw things up. I'm hyper opinionated. I'm that table over there. It's a mess right now. I've stuff that I'm far from perfect. I'm not even remotely trying to express any kind of perfection or anything like that. I'm just trying the best I can on a daily basis, and I'm going to keep doing that. Got onto this total rant here, and it was weird, and I'm just going to stop talking about it now and read some comments. Raven Thomas says, yes, congrats at John McKenzie. Indeed, I got 1 year, but it's getting tough. I got it, though. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, whenever that stuff gets tough and you think of this and you think of that and the other thing, personally for me, and I don't know if this is going to help anybody out, but to express that it's gonna pass. You take a deep breath. 1 second goes by, take a deep breath. 10 seconds goes by, take a deep breath. 20 seconds goes by, take a deep breath. A minute's gone by, and you just start stacking that up, and with a little time and energy of what needs to be taken care of now. That's something I always focused on, like what needs to be done right now. I'm gonna do that. All the other stuff can wait because I need to do this thing now. If I can figure out what it is that I need to be doing, I should just be doing that. So I just go do that, and that's just how it's going to go. So just as a reminder to that, to just breathe in, remember that this thing's going to pass, whatever the hell's going on, and recognize a trigger and that kind of stuff. And, don't try to get too complicated with it, but just let it pass. DM Penfold says, a whole lot of mental nonsense. Was advised binge eating was less harmful than had an artery unblocked. Yeah, binge eating is super harmful. Binge anything is harmful. Not sure about the shrimp shirt with the black blood spatter. Well, it's not blood spatter. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be interpreted as blood spatter. I'm guessing Steve is looking at the merch. Yeah, we got merch. It's on Teespring. We made the merch. If you want to buy merch, you can. If you don't want to buy merch, you don't have to. My favorite thing on there is the stickers. That's my favorite thing. As you guys know, stickers are one of my favorite things, and plaid shirts are one of my favorite things, so I don't normally wear shirts with stuff on them. But I do buy them and oftentimes mat them and frame them. So, is that weird? Kind of. But, definitely a shout out to everybody that's been supporting the channel, because we will get through this pandemic. We will get through this stuff, and we'll just keep doing what we've got to do. And one step in front of the other, and we'll just keep going, and we'll get there. You guys wonder what I'm chewing on? It's this nicotine gum because I don't ever want to smoke ever again. Anyhow, it has been a grip. I've been rambling on like a madman. So I'm going to give a big shout out to our supporters of the day. We've got Steve Bearteach and Dan Squires with our super chatters of the day. We got Stream Health is good. Analytics are whatever. People leaving, going home. They got to go. They got things they got to do. That's the viewer activity. We did not get any new members today, so that's that. We got no new members, and no, it doesn't tell us subscribers anymore. They changed the control panel. All right. Thank you to everybody for coming out. I appreciate every little bit of support and just people chatting in the chat and stuff like that, man. That's all super cool. So thanks everybody.